Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
It's Jeff. Hope everybody had a good week. It's been nice here in Maine the whole week, so it's really great. I got some stuff here I want to read to you here, some news items here, and it's from Daily Democracy. And this first article here, titled "Kilmeade's Words Were Fatal. He Should Be Fired." But sure, Jimmy Kimmel is the problem. While the Trump administration is cracking down on freedom of speech against progressives, calling their rhetoric hateful and violent, Brian Kilmeade, a Fox host, said, "We should just kill homeless people," and obviously he still has his job. Kilmeade said that homeless and mentally ill people should be euthanized. Then, a week later, 13 people in 2 homeless encampments in Minneapolis were shot. It's a cruel thing to say from a supporter of an intensely cruel administration. In an executive order earlier this month, Trump essentially criminalized homelessness by forcing governments to move unhoused people into long-term institutional settings. Kilmeade saying that people should be killed simply for not having a home also comes after a long summer in Minnesota, where children were shot and killed in a school shooting 2 weeks ago. And a Democratic lawmaker and her husband were assassinated in their homes a few weeks ago, with another lawmaker and his wife being shot multiple times, but thankfully surviving. Calling for more violence and having it result in more death is a state still reeling from the impacts of political violence is irresponsible and unacceptable. Trump being able to suspend Jimmy Kimmel's show for a joke but refusing to fire Kilmeade for truly violent rhetoric that led to vulnerable people dying unnecessarily shows just how far the First Amendment has fallen. If we're making hate speech illegal again, Kilmeade's comments certainly count. We need to call for Kilmeade to never appear on air again. Well, it's true. I mean, think about that. I mean, what Jimmy Kimmel had said about Charlie Kirk, and Tyler Robinson didn't lead to anything happening after that, okay? He was just stating the truth, and it wasn't really a joke. It was nothing. It wasn't something that was laughed at. He was telling people exactly what was going on. Okay, and because people didn't want to agree with that, they didn't want to accept that that is the case, that was really going on, and that being Trump, he decided, I'm going to throw my fat around and get the FCC to do something about Jimmy Kimmel. And but like was said in the article here, this fucking Kilmeade here from Fox says something really nasty, okay, and people get killed. But yet the right wing is going to go after Jimmy Kimmel instead. And they want to declare war on Democrats when it should be the other way around, honestly. Okay, if you want to incite a war because of violent rhetoric, it should be Democrats going to war with Republicans, okay? Not the other way around, because it's always been the Republicans who agitate, all right, and annoy and just throw gas on the fire whenever there is a fire. That's all they're good at doing. They really are. I mean, even in the simplest setting like an election, you see these Republicans rubbing it in your face. I'm voting for Trump. They do all these things. They do this to get everybody's fur up. That's what they do. That's why they do it. It has nothing more to do, because to them, owning the libs is everything. Doesn't matter if they're selling themselves up the fucking river without a paddle. Owning the liberals, winning one so they can't have it. Okay? Even if they come to the table with all the solutions, we can't let them have it. It's us versus them. That attitude right there has brought the country to where it is right now. Okay? Where we are suffering. Our economy is suffering. Our homelessness, the numbers are suffering. Joblessness is suffering. Our ability to even feed ourselves is beginning to suffer. Okay? Because our farmers are going belly up all over the fucking country here. And yet, the Republicans ignore it. They ignore all that. They ignore all the facts. Because, hey, we had to win. We had to win. And at what price? Okay? What price? All this chaos in 7-8 months here, this is where we are. Was the victory really worth it? Okay? If you have to destroy your country in order to win a fight, then you didn't win no fight. You lost. All right, here's this other article here in the same group here, entitled U.S. Neo-Nazi Fight Club is using Charlie Kirk's killing to recruit new members. Okay, great news. Neo-fascist fight clubs are continuing to surge in popularity across the country and beyond, as organizers have capitalized on Charlie Kirk's murder to recruit and entice new members with promises of blood, vengeance, and racist camaraderie. These so-called quote-unquote activist clubs are a loose collective of neo-Nazis, mixed martial arts groups that gather at local gyms and parks to train, tapping into existing gangs of white nationalists or adjacent organizations. Authorities view them as perhaps one of the most organized and pernicious domestic terrorist threats emanating from far-right political ideologies for now. Once Trump's cronies finish scrubbing government databases of pesky evidence incontrovertibly proving otherwise, we'll just have to figure out how to blame liberal snowflakes for this mess too. Remember I was saying how the FBI has been keeping tabs on right-wing radical groups? Okay? That was no boast. That's the truth. And that was reported on the news one night, and this was years ago. I think it was during was shortly after 9/11, I think it was, when it happened. And there was a story on the news, and I can't remember which one it was, if it was 48 hours or 60 minutes or whatever. And they said that the FBI has been monitoring ever since Ruby Ridge, I guess, in Waco. They've been keeping a list and a tab on these radical right-wing groups, because these are the groups that usually are the ones responsible for, like, the Oklahoma City bombing, people of that caliber. And whenever new ones come up, they have, people that infiltrate, get information, find out who the heads are of them, okay, and they bring all that back to the FBI. That's why a lot of times if you see something happen on TV, like a shooting or something like that, if anyone involved in that shooting is part of one of these groups, that information is already available to the FBI, which is how it gets thrown on the TV so fast, is because they've been watching people in that group for a long time. So I just, I know a lot of people are giving me, shellac about that, saying, what's your evidence? Where you have the evidence is there, okay? You're just going to have to find it. Like I said, I saw this on a news show. They interviewed somebody from the FBI, and they said that they do keep track of these groups. And I think, like I said, since Waco, I guess they made a point of it that, we have homegrown terrorists right here, and we got to keep an eye on these people. They may be protected by First Amendment and stuff like that, but oftentimes these people will end up taking things too far. One or two or three members of such a group will go out and actually do something criminal. Okay? And my thing is that you don't see, Democrats doing that. And don't throw Antifa at me. That's not even really a group. Okay? That's like MAGA. We call people MAGA who voted for Trump, but it's not a group. It's not an organization. It's just a label we put on people who voted for Trump. Antifa is another such label that Republicans put on Democrats that they don't like, okay? But no matter what they want to call them, they don't exist. No Democrats don't go out and do these kinds of things, okay? And there was a chart that was put out like a couple weeks ago, or not a couple weeks ago, it was like shortly after Charlie Kirk was killed. Okay, this report had come out showing the percentage of killings and what groups are more responsible in it, and it's like 9% of the time it's right-wing groups that are responsible. Well, Donald Trump had a fit about that, wanted that taken down. Okay. But if you go online, you'll find, I think I used one of those pictures as a header there for one of my last video or something like that. You could still find it online. It's there, and the numbers aren't surprising, at least to people like me. But for those of you that don't keep up with such things, I think you might find it a surprising bit of information to see how often things like this are done by right-wing groups, and they are violent. These people are violent because they feed on hate, and when hate doesn't come from goodness. Okay, it comes from people that are hateful and bad and angry. Okay, racism. That, you know what I'm saying? That's where such people are the ones that are willing to pick up a gun and do what they have to do to shut their fucking little voices off in their head that keep feeding them all this crap. They need to take their fucking rage out on the streets. All right? Democrats get mad about things. Yeah. And maybe once in a while, a Democrat might get involved with doing something bad. Okay? But you don't see Democrats rallying around that individual to say that it's okay for everybody to do that. Okay? We're trying to get rid of guns off the street. Okay? Like it or not. That's what we're focused on. We want to get these streets clean of guns. Does that sound like people who want to go to war with anybody? Or people who are interested in political hit jobs? No. Our message has never changed. But the right wing, their message has always been the same. Guns, we have to have more guns. Okay? To fight against tyranny. Well, tyranny is here, and I don't see any of these fucking people picking up their guns and fighting it. Okay? So their reason for wanting a gun just got blown up in their face. They just proven they're full of shit. Okay? They want the guns just so they can go around killing people they don't like. That's what it is. Just anarchy. Okay, let me read this other item here. FCC commissioner rebukes agency's chair and says, quote, "We don't have the authority," unquote, "to retaliate against broadcasters." Commissioner Ana Gomez of the FCC said the FCC chair, Brendan Carr, and the agency do not actually have the authority to revoke broadcasters' license despite Carr's threats. Gomez, whose job is likely now at risk, explained, quote, "We license local broadcasters, so there is no license to pull for the networks. The local broadcasters get some programming from the networks. But second of all, we are governed by the First Amendment and by the Communications Act, which prohibits us from censoring broadcasters. So no, we cannot pull local broadcasters' license simply because they air content that Trump does not like. unquote. Gomez reiterated that the FCC lacks the authority to deliver on the kind of threatening and retaliatory behavior that Carr, a bona fide Trump toady, has been engaging in, and called for the Fourth Estate to step up and do its goddamn job holding the government to account. Something tells us she's going to be disappointed with the media's follow-through on that request. Yeah, okay, because who's controlling the media? Your famous Trump administration, okay? They're the ones running everything now. Okay, he's got the networks quaking in their boots. And it doesn't matter to Trump that he has no authority to do what he's asking Carr to do. Okay, he doesn't care about the law. I mean, what has he ever cared about the law? No. So why would he care now? So he's going to send his minions out to do his bidding, and they're either going to do it or they're going to get fired. Okay, so what do you think they're going to do? So that's why, this is the kind of thing that we've always talked about in, over the years in school and stuff about authoritarianism, and why this country stands against that sort of thing, and what happens if you let that breed and flourish in our country. You're going to find yourself shoved into a very small box, okay, where you have very little rights, very little, no one wants to hear you, and that's not going to be a very nice situation to be in. Okay, even the Republicans are going to learn to hate that very quick, okay, because Republicans, above all, are very spoiled people. They're spoiled because they want everything their way, and when things start disappearing that they can't do anymore, and their violent nature, okay, do I need to paint this picture anymore? No. All right, so you see what I'm saying. That's why these people, they need an education, because they don't know what authoritarianism is. They're going through it right now. They're living with it with Trump. Some of these people have learned that Trump was not on their side, and they've turned their back on him. Thank God for that. Okay, but there's still enough out there, people who are even more stupid. These people, you cannot talk to them. You cannot reason with them. You cannot do anything but just let them vomit, okay, and then, walk away, because what they have to say is pointless, meaningless. All right, and yet they feel like everything they say is some nugget of gold, okay, that they think, oh, I got one up on you, and yet their very argument has holes in it that they can't even tell or see. All right, so that's what you got here, and this is not America right now. America has been put on perpetual hold here, while this country battles itself out on what it wants to become, okay? But it's like I had said many videos back, by the end of this century, you're not going to see the same kind of country we had when we started in 2000, okay? We're going to have something completely different, because it's so much harder to fix a problem than it is to create one. And Trump has created a lot of problems, and I think everybody's pretty much on the same page by saying it's going to take, more than just one Democrat administration to fix what Trump has done. It's going to take many administrations, liberal administrations, that are going to have to be dead set focused on restoring our nation's democracy, because if they are not, then folks, the country will continue to spin out of control and become something completely different, okay? It's not going to matter who the hell the president is at that point. So like I said, this is a very pivotal point in American history, where people in years from now, generations from now, are going to wonder what the hell happened. Why didn't people notice they were driving with only 3 wheels instead of 4? It's just okay. So that's kind of like getting woke in a bad way, because you had to go through hell in order to get woke. And a lot of this is because our country has neglected putting an end to racism, bigotry, religious interference. Okay, they should have put their foot down harder on that a long time ago. Okay, we've allowed these right-wing groups to get too much control. The KKK and all its fucking splinter groups, all of that should have been eradicated out of this country a long time ago. Okay, they should not have been allowed to exist as whatever they want to call religion or something. American Nazi Party did the same thing. That should have been kicked right out of this country and all its members. And people that are, tied in with such groups, adios. All right, we'll give you the easy way out, or you can get out in a very violent way. But we should have eradicated that in this country. They have no right to be protected by our laws if they don't respect them. Okay, if they don't want to live like Americans, then they have no right to be protected by the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, or how many amendments you get. Okay, they have no right to any of that because they don't want to live in this country there as it is. So that means they don't even want to be American. So why should we, grant them, the protection of our laws? The very existence of such groups is contrary to the principles of the country. And because we've turned a blind eye to that, because we've got people inside our own government who support that shit, we've let that go on and on and on, and look how it's ate our society to pieces. I mean, it was a cancer in our country that should have been taken care of way back before I was even born. Okay, during the civil rights movement, they should have pushed that even further and gone into the states that were harboring these groups, and they should have gone in there and rounded them all up. Put them in what do they call it, alligator Auschwitz or whatever the hell they're calling it. Okay, we should have done it back then with these people, or send them to Venezuela or whatever the hell the other place is. Okay, that's what we should have done way back then. You realize how much different it'd probably be in our society today? Yeah, sure, people are going to be people. They're going to have thoughts. You can't control people's thoughts. But at least people will have an idea that in this country, those thoughts better stay in your head, okay, and not see the light of day. All right, so that's it for today. Hope everybody has a good weekend. So I will talk to you guys later. Take care.